special guests and speakers are with us. I'll stop sharing the screen. And if you can just spotlight both of them, I hope both of them have joined.
I don't see Brother Golo yet. I'm not sure.
Sonja is here. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sure he's on the way.
Yes, I'm sure he's on the way. Yes.
No worries. Plenty of time to introduce you, which I didn't get a chance last time.
Yeah.
So do
Thank
that.
you.
And thank you for sending bio in detail. Thank you. So
Thank
let's
you.
start. Sonja is around with us. So,
Vamos a empezar con...
okay. So she's basically has
Ella
her community.
básicamente,
Sister Anu, you've just looked into that.
Now it's all fine. Thank you, Miguel brother.
She's a community nurse for more than 20 years,
Mm.
born and raised in Sweden, but now she's in Denmark.
Yeah.
And based at the BK Center in Copenhagen since 1988.
Mm.
She's also a director over there and also a national coordinator since 1995.
Mm.
She supports the development of inner leadership courses designed for the business community and has been facilitating this since 1995. And I must say, most important is she's the international coordinator for the Brahma Kumari's Environment Initiative. It's her and Brother Golo both together.
Mm.
And 2009, she was the one who was instrumental in developing this initiative to meet the need for a higher environmental awareness within the international BK community. And also to add the inner dimension, the spiritual dimension at discussions which take place at these conferences, because usually climate change all goes in the physical realm, the physical dimension, none of them realizing that the spiritual dimension is really missing in that. She's been regularly attending all the COP conferences since, I think, a long time, 2009. And she also continues to conduct the green retreats for the BK community in parts of Europe, Portugal, Italy, and even USA. And she's traveled with the lecture series of Living in Harmony and Healthy Mind, Healthy Planet in many, many countries. So thank you so much for being with us. And I would request if Brother Golo is around to be highlighted or spotlighted, and I'll just introduce him as well in the meantime as he joins. Is he around? Not yet. Okay, right. So let us just start with Brother Golo. Many of you would have seen him in Gyan Sarovar. He is basically from Germany, and he joined in the Brahma Kumaris in 1984. He's an experienced meditation teacher, and he's traveled extensively and again has a wide range of experience of speaking on environmental topics and spiritual topics as well. And basically, he advocates sustainable solutions through an ethical and values-based approach. So you see, that's the reason we called him, because he's a highly integral person. And let me few of his achievements. In 1989, he founded the charitable trust called India Care with headquarters in Berlin, where he was the president for around 14 years. And then what is India Care doing? It's regularly supported various medical and scientific projects in India. And then Brother Golo in 1990 moved to India, and he's innovative. He's found out this Brahma Kumari solar department. All the credit goes to him. And he's also currently the advisor for renewable energy of the Brahma Kumaris and its sister organization called the World Renewable Spiritual Trust. All of us know that very well. In 2009, also, he became a founding member along with Sister Sonja, both of them for the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. And since then, there's no looking back. Both of them have participated and lectured at all these COP conferences. And also, as we speak, from 2010 to 17, he has coordinated the design and construction of India One, which all of you are amazed to see when you visit the Shantivan campus. It's a 1 megawatt solar thermal power plant installed at the Shantivan campus. And finally, as COVID struck, no one was being, all the meditation experts were online. So he also became online in 2021. He co-founded the meditation platform called Yogis for Future, which basically was inviting like-minded people to come together and meditate. and create good thoughts and intentions for the well-being of humans and the planet. So I think we'll be having a lot of insight about what we can also do for our planet, because you need a lot of integrity for that to do. As we discussed, I was mentioning a few points about that. Okay, so I hope he's joined. And if not, I'll just go ahead with the poem. I'll just take a few more minutes and then the stage is all yours, Sister Sonia and him. So Rajyogis have purity, which in their personality is so integral. That's because both in their thinking are indeed quite liberal. Whatever they shall share today,
Yeah.
quite literal, no scope for anything that is illiteral. In today's world, where everyone's approach is so unilateral, no one wants to listen to each other and be bilateral. Where people mock each other even at their funeral and appear to pay condolences, which appear surreal, which means false. So let's try to identify ourselves, who we are in real, so that ego consciousness goes in for the permanent burial, which means let's dissolve the ego consciousness. And I think, yeah, here he is. He's listening in the background patiently. Thank you so much for joining. And I don't know since when you started hearing Brother Golo, but thank you for being there. And the stage is all both of you. Over to you, both of you. Thank
I'll
you.
take a second. Oh, yeah. So Miguel was muted, so it's all good now. So Portuguese translation is going on now.
Okay, all the translators are in place, and over to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the introduction. And I listened with interest to the summary of Juliana and Luciana. And of course, integrity is such an exciting topic. And I looked up on the Wikipedia, and the official meaning of integrity would be it says adherence to moral and ethical principles, the soundness of moral character and honesty. The core definition in AI is consistency between thoughts, words, and action. And it is actually, with simple words, an easier way of saying it is that you're on the same on the inside as on the outside. So I thought we would start by sharing some of our personal experiences and stories of integrity. And so let us start with Golo and your story. What's your experience in your personal life, Golobai?
Well, sorry I came a bit late. Some technical hiccup. I'm in the retreat center here in Mooringen, and I'm on the Wi-Fi, and I had to go on another Wi-Fi because this Wi-Fi is a bit overloaded. Anyhow, yeah, of course, integrity is a very important topic. And I had a lot of experiences also in my life where personal integrity actually counts. And actually, I feel with getting older, I get more integer. You know, my personal integrity is increasing, and one of the reasons is I had a lot of good examples, you know, to study in detail. When I came in Gyan, I remember I met Brother Ramesh, who was at that time the financial head of the Brahma Kumaris. And Ramesh Bhai was in Bombay, and I used to visit him in his office. And I could close up sort of observe his dealings within the organization, especially with money, but also with projects, with properties, with procurement, and a lot of dealings and wheelings of projects and things. And I learned that integrity is very closely related to honesty. And honesty means also that you are transparent and that you follow certain principles. And I learned a lot observing Ramesh by how principled he is, you know, like money which comes in goes into the account and not goes somewhere else, you know, like these kind of things. Very, very honest to Baba, very honest to the organization, very transparent. And I also saw him working very closely with Daddy Janki. and sort of being in between support which came from overseas and the projects in India. Gyan Sarovar came up, Shantivan Hall came up, and then of course I got involved myself later when we did the solar projects. And a lot of money came from Germany, many crores. Also many crores came from Indian government. And Ramesh Bhai was always, I would say, very honest and very straightforward. And so slowly, I learned in my personal life by this example how to be honest with your personal things, and that what is Baba, what is the institution, and sort of keep things clear and keep things clean also. And that impressed me a lot. And now, after being undergone training, I would like to say, of 30 years or 25 years doing projects in the Yagya, I sort of try to be very accountable and clean in all these financial dealings. So that is one part of the whole integrity, which I learned over the time period through all these projects, which are sort of connected to, I would say, to outer dealings and how you handle, especially money, projects, and so on, that you become reliable, and people sort of also then after some time consider you a reliable or integer person, and they come and ask you for the advice and for the help. So that is something which I have seen also in the seniors, how they develop this sort of reputation, and people then come and ask for sort of advice. But integrity also became very important to me on my personal spiritual journey, that you are sort of a bit honest with your own spiritual progress and your own performance, I would say, and that you become accountable also with Baba, that you that Baba many times says, make a chart, do this, do that, do this, do that, and we're not always following 100%, otherwise we would be probably already perfect. So there is always a bit of a mismatch between what you understand intellectually and what you actually should follow in order to be 100% integer, 100% honest, and 100% follow what you understand. And I think the art is to bridge the gap between what you understand and what your heart tells you, because I believe integrity is also sort of connected to your personal karma, because you feel on a subtle level if you do something wrong, and you do something and you feel, oh, that might be not 100%, but you just do it, because you might have done it before, or you might get some benefit or something out of it, and you're just doing it. But I think the moment you feel that this is maybe not right, it's a bit of a sort of reminder or a warning that you should reconsider, and that you maybe lose a bit the pathway, this very thin line of integrity, of inner personal integrity, inner accountability. And that's where we should think double and think, okay, is this really beneficial? Is this really good? Is this really helping me or the situation? And then it is important that we sort of listen to this little inner voice, which is there, to the voice of our heart, and bring, let's say, our heart and what we understand, align them. And so I feel as Brahmins, we're all on this journey to become 100% integer, increase our integrity. And I think an angel, or a perfect Brahmin, a perfect deity, is a person which is 100% accountable, 100% clean, and has, of course, achieved this integrity. I think this is a bit my thoughts on the first track. I give back to Sonja.
Thank you very much for sharing. And yes, I remember Ramesh Bhai. He's famous for his honesty. So yes, it's very inspiring to hear the stories about him also. I was thinking for myself that in my experience, to be the same inside as outside, I have to become friends with what's on the inside. And when I have victory in my integrity, it happens in small dealings in the daily life. And if I get criticized, for example, someone says you're like this or you're like that, you're arrogant or you have no self-confidence, whatever people say, and if I have looked on my own weaknesses and come to terms with it, and I'm a friend with myself, I will be able to say, yes, I know, I'm working on it. And if I haven't come to terms with myself and where I'm at, I would react. I would say, you're like this, and you don't understand me, or why do you say like that? I would become defensive or angry. And then I have created an enemy or a conflict. But if I have looked at my own weaknesses and come to terms with it, and someone puts their finger in it, and then I'm able to say, yes, I know, I'm working on it. And on top of that, I would be able to even take it further, maybe, and say, maybe you have some methods on how to deal with it. And then I have a friend rather than an enemy. And in these small dealings, that's my victory in integrity on a daily basis. Not because I get criticized on a daily basis, but to be able to be a friend with myself in all circumstances, also in my trigger points. That's my victory in my integrity. And as we are talking here about values in healthcare, I also remembered one situation at the doctor's clinic where I used to work for many years ago. And there were 4 doctors, but one of the doctors, he had his wife as a secretary. And that created an imbalance in the relationship and power in the clinic, I would say, because those two, they became too strong. We couldn't sort of work so easily with that secretary because she also always went to her husband or the doctor to complain, and then he put a stop for whatever it was. But they had then started to criticize one of my other colleagues, one of the secretaries, and they kind of bullied him in the end. And that happened in his workplace sometimes. It's very sad to see that everyone goes on to one person. And I managed to float through this by not taking any stand. I kept a low profile, didn't say much. I didn't engage in the debate. I kept quiet. But in one staff meeting, they confronted me and say, now, Sonja, it's about time you say what you think and we have to do something. And they really got at me. And I became all red in my face. I didn't know what to say. But then I thought, okay, I told them I've been for 20 years trying not to talk bad about other people, and I will stick to my principle also today. And they all became quiet. And I said, if anyone wants you to find a solution to this situation, I'm very happy to help if we can do it in any other way. And these are small things, just a staff meeting, but I was very happy with myself afterwards. And the situation didn't escalate, it just became more and more quiet, and we were able to solve it. But integrity is also to be able to stand up for your own values, even when you are confronted by it. I think that's what integrity really means. So I came to remember that little story. But Golo, you also talked about the warning signals, and the inner accountability, and what will happen if you go against your values and integrity. And actually, the opposite of integrity would be to have a facade, isn't it? To be different on the inside from the outside. And I think we all have had periods in our lives where we have to put up a facade to cover something very fragile or vulnerable on the inside. But the consequences on the long term to have a facade can be quite severe, and to break your integrity again and again. And Golo, do you have any experience in your own life or from other people that you know the consequences of not taking a stand or not living up to your integrity and not to listen to your inner voice, as you beautifully said?
Well, it's for me, it's often also a battle. Sometimes intellectually, I know I have to do this, but my heart may be saying, no, no, that is maybe not right. You know, you might hurt somebody, you know. So sometimes it's a conflict, you know. Integrity is also connected to being righteous, you know, and to be virtuous and to judge properly, you know. And sometimes when you are too powerful in your judgment or your expresses, you might hurt other people. So I think part of integrity is also to have this ability to sort of integrate your understanding into the overall situation. Like, for example, I came here to the retreat place and about a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, and I saw I'm a trade person, I'm a builder, and I saw many areas where things have to be done and repaired. And I even walked on a roof and almost broke through the roof because the roof was rotten, you know, so it was in a very bad shape. So I wrote a long mail to everybody, and I made 25 points what all has to be done, and I know I'm right, and they also know I'm right, but I also have to package it properly so things can be integrated, you know, and you see also the other people, where they are, how much they understand, can they follow you, and will they trust you? You know, and there is a fine balance required where I'm still working a lot on that, to be able also to listen, you know, what others have to say and how they see situations, you know. So integrity or being righteous and see things clearly is one side, but the other side is also to sort of bring this judgment, these ideas or these concepts of coming out of the righteousness and coming out of the being integer and you understand things, to implement them properly and sort of present it in such a way that something beautiful can grow out of it, and the benefit is for the overall situation, you know. And that's where I have to work on, because I'm often like a sort of a bit of an innovator, or I might see things a bit earlier than others. And so integrity for me also means, nowadays, if I think deeply on that, to have the whole package, you know, not only to see things right, but also to give such an input that it is acceptable for everybody and the whole thing can grow, you know. And there's a fine balance required in the field. And well, in Madhuban, you know, it's a huge learning field. Doing 30 years projects, and often you have to deal with different departments. Sort of, you know, you cannot just do your thing, you have to get them all in the boat, you know.
Yeah.
And then it is very helpful if you sort of work on your personal integrity, because people they remember that, and they sort of then see you as a particular person, and then they trust you, and then it is easier to sort of get the ball rolling, you know. So it's a constant learning process, and I can frankly say I'm still not there where I would like to be. It's a constant learning process, especially I just that was one of the reasons why I'm a bit late, because in the morning I was taking measurement with Udo, the architect, of the different levels here in the retreat place with the special equipment, and we made a survey basically, and then I got caught in a discussion with him about how to package our findings properly so everybody is in the boat, you know. And so it's all about your own ego, how you can present it, how you can deal with different people and different understanding, and how you're able to listen also what they want and sort of get it all together. So I feel it's a lifelong, especially being a Brahmin, it's a lifelong journey. And as I mentioned before, the ultimate aim is to heal heart and intellect and bring them into one. And of course, the ultimate solution is that you go deep into meditation and connect to the divine light and sort of allow the light to enter yourself and heal all this up and down, left and right, yin and yang, and bring it all in one. So there is no more different voices, there is no intellect and no heart, it is all one. There is no, I could do it like this, I could do like that. You are in the oneness, and whatever you do is right, and you are 100% integer. This is actually the ultimate aim of all Brahmins, I feel. And
Thank
somehow
you.
we're heading to that. No, we are on the journey for sure.
Thanks for sharing your experience in so much depth. And it's interesting to connect integrity with trust also. And the question was, what happened if I don't live up to it? And I was thinking for myself that if I have this facade, I'm different from the outside and on the inside, I will always be afraid that people will find out what's behind the facade. So I will actually live in constant fear of anxiety that people will find out the real story about me on the inside. And then it will be difficult for me to let people come close because I will be afraid that they will not like what they see on the inside behind the facade. And it's a bit of a sad story because we all have the same inside, we have the same values and powers and the light, and we also have the same shadows. We all have anger, greed, and etc. We're not free from that. We all have 5% of dark corners, which we don't share with anybody. And so it basically nothing to be ashamed of or nothing to be afraid of. So that's, with this very strong facade, people would become lonely. So I think that's a consequence of not having integrity, because you talk, Golo, about trust also. So it's difficult to trust. So that's why you become lonely. And I know for some people, loneliness is fine, there's no problem. But if it's not, if you want company and it's never anybody there, then that's a problem, right? And I know here in the center in Copenhagen, everyone here in the group, we work with volunteers, and we are volunteers. So it's a different mechanism than to work with paid staff. And I know those who have a high level of integrity, if I ask them for help, they would say no if they can't do it. And it's very easy to ask them, because I know if they can't do it, they say no. If they can do it, they say yes. And yes means yes, and no means no. But some people, they say yes even though they don't want to do it. And that's where the problems start. They say yes, but they really don't want to do it. So they do it half-hearted. And I know a story from myself, actually, because I'm the person, if I do it full on, or I don't do it. This in between doesn't really work for me. But once I was asked to be part of a preparation meeting for some big event, and I didn't have time to do it, but I was a bit flattered being asked, and I also liked the people, a bit impressed by the other people in the group. So I said yes, and I said I will do as much as I can, but I can't do it fully. And that actually didn't work out at all. It became a bit conflict, and time-wise it didn't work out. It was a big failure, actually, my contribution to that. It was a big lesson for me, not to be flattered, but to actually live up to your standards. So I thought we could have halfway through, we could have a small reflection on honesty and trust. Just a few minutes to take a breath before we carry on with our conversation. So I will ask everyone just to take a deep breath. Maybe close your eyes this time if you like. It's okay. And take a deep breath all the way to the bottom of your stomach. And turn the attention within. And relax. And I remember the inner light and peace. I can feel myself as a peaceful, loving being of light. And I stay here. I stay with these core values of mine. The deepest part of me. Love, peace, and joy. This is to be honest, to stay, to hold on, to be what I really am. A loving, peaceful being of light. And I stick to my values to such an extent that I can stay loving in all situations. I stick to my values to such an extent I can stay peaceful in all situations. And I go deep inside to this place so often I can. And trust will increase. My head and heart will work together. And harmony and beauty is created. And I take a deep breath and come back. Om Shanti. So that was a small break for all of us. I know some of you has been online nearly for 2 hours soon. And Golo, you mentioned accountability, and you also mentioned the climate change conferences. And I looked up on the internet and I see there is actually a organization called International Center, excuse me, for Academic Integrity. And they define academic integrity as commitment to 5 values: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. And then they underline the courage we should have to commit to those values. And as I mentioned, this academy, I also came to think of the climate change conferences where accountability but also transparency is one of the main values. It's a very debated principles in the world of politics and also on climate change. And maybe, Golo, you can share some of your experiences and thoughts why transparency is a debated principle in the climate change negotiations and how it connects to integrity.
Well, indeed, we're now going, I think, since 20 years almost to all the UN climate conference, and we have a very good overview, sort of what is going on and what is happening, and also how slowly the narrative and the discussions have changed over a period of time. I remember when we came first, you know, we were dressed funnily, you know, some of us pure white, Sister Genti in sari, and we are also in hodgepodge white, and we had very funny brochures, all different colors, different prints, different fonts, different addresses, different messages. And the people looked at us a bit and said, "What are you doing?" And we said, "We are the yogis." And they said, "No, no, no. We need money, and we need strategy, and we need technology. And we fix this climate problem, no issue at all." This was in Copenhagen, 2009, no? 2009. And they sort of smiled at us, the yogis, because our exhibition was also very funny, you know, like all sorts of different, from some hand painted to some printed stuff, and you know, we just gobbled it all together. So over the years, we streamlined our message, and we streamlined our appearance, and it became much more professional in the way how we present ourselves. So sort of also connected to integrity, that we present a clear message and a clear line, that when you change, that there is a connection between your inner world and the outer world, and whatever happens there, you cannot isolate it from what happens inside. And in order to fix the problem there, you have to fix the problem on the inside first. That is basically our core message, and we package it nicely. Now we have one type of brochure, we have nice slogans, we have a nice statement. We have 10 ways, nice stand. If our stand is decorated, it's quite often the most beautiful, I would say. And I like it very much. And we have the blessing cards and all this. So there's a lot of, we have synchronized basically our appearance. And on the other side, we can see that the climate conferences there's more and more of a discord. You can see on one side, you have people which are very integer. Quite often these are scientists, activists also, and some politicians. And on the other side, you have also a lot of people from lobby groups, which are sort of more and more sort of coming into the climate conference and take more and more space, and trying to get more influence on the outcome of the climate conference, because a lot of money is at stake. And money is always a bit a tricky topic, which sort of collides often with the topic of integrity. So they say, "Oh, we still have some investment and we want to get the good profit and return for the next 20 years. So can we not slow down the laws to phase out fuels and make it a bit more slow? And then we do like this and not like that." So there's a lot of pushing and going on behind the scenes. and there's a lot of hidden agenda, and it's often called greenwashing. And sort of the whole UN climate conference lost a bit its reputation as to be a real honest broker of the climate dilemma, because some people say it has been hijacked by big money, by big oil, by the mining companies, and by some governments which have certain interests not to switch to clean technology immediately because their business model or their income would be affected massively. So their integrity and honesty and accountability plays a major role, and a lot of scientists are aware about the dilemma. And of course, there's a lot of thought how to address that, how to address the gap between what we understand on one side, what has to be done, and practically what's actually really happening on the ground. This wouldn't be such a big problem if not actually the survival of humanity is at stake. I mean, if we look up the news right now, the weather is right catastrophic. It's totally upside down, and we're heading for, I don't know how to describe it properly, but not for really smooth future. And now everybody becomes aware. And now this facade, which people have, everything will be good, everything will become good, is getting brittle. And there's a saying that truth will prevail. And interestingly, in Indian philosophy, the Sat Yuga, the translation is the age of truth. I hope I'm correct that it's one of the translations, it's the age of truth. So truth will prevail. And interestingly, God is the last resort of the ultimate truth. And there is a process which you can see at the climate conference that slowly truth is being revealed, what is going on. It means you cannot hide any longer behind any type of facade or pretend everything will become good. The circumstances become obvious and quite clear. But there's also in other areas, not only the climate change conference, also on the economical front, there has been a lot of imbalance and injustice in the world, and colonialism, 500 years injustice, exploitation, one country on the other, wars, this, that, conflicts. The truth is coming out everywhere. Everything is being revealed. People start talking about it, and I see this is the big push right now to this new emerging paradigm of truth, of honesty, which is also connected to integrity. And interestingly, it is God himself, the supreme being, which is the embodiment of integrity. And we sort of all trust, hopefully we all trust Shiv Baba, the supreme being, totally, that he's the ultimate integrity, the ultimate person to rely on, and the ultimate person to believe on. So interestingly, the whole world is now going through a transformation process where the facade of wrong understandings, wrong beliefs, wrong action is all coming on the scale and being judged. And what is not integer, what is not clean, what is not proper, it does not prevail. And the truth is coming into the light. And this is a very interesting development. And of course, for us Brahmins, it's also a challenge, because what happens in the world is reflected also what happens on our inside. So to deal with these issues, you have to deal first with your own inner world and your own integrity on the inside. And you have to settle the stuff first before you can go outside and sort of address this in a conference or sort of act in the world with integrity. So that's why it is so important to work on the self, to understand how that inner world is all the time reflecting in the outer world, that the outer world is basically a mirror. And if you are giving a teaching or you talk about truth, there's always a reflection on the inside, and there's always a connection to your inner world. And there has to be some sort of synchronicity, otherwise people won't believe you. So at the climate conference, it's a very fine balance. And interestingly, slowly, people are coming to us and they say, okay, we see you since 20 years here. You're interesting people. So what's your take on that? And what's your fix on that? So they come to us. And of course, our fix is a quite dramatic fix, that we have a transformation of the entire world, you know, a transformation, and a new age is coming. I mean, that's not a small fix. That's the big thing. That's the ultimate fix. And so, of course, also, again, diplomacy and balance is required, because you cannot reveal everything directly. So also this balance is required to feel the pulse, how much and to whom you can say what. So it's a very fine balance. But the overall trend in the world right now, if we look anywhere, is that all unrighteousness which is there, all wrong facades, they're all being pulled away, and the truth is being revealed. Because I think Baba is more and more directing his searchlight on this planet and shines the light. And the shadow is being chased away, and the shadow is the curtain. And people will be confronted with their inner truth, but also with the truth in the world. And that's a time of reckoning. And then, of course, they will look for the angels, for God's messengers. And so we have to be ready, and we have to be 100% integer. That's what I feel.
Yeah, very interesting. So interesting. And you talked about the hidden agenda, right? And that everything which is false will come up. So it's better that we look at it and take it up before ourselves, before other people do. I remember actually when we started the Environment Initiative, the very first meeting we had with the seniors, and some say we can't involve in the environment conferences because we are not an environment organization and we don't live at all environmentally friendly. And because we travel too much, we use too much chlorine in our white clothes, and we don't eat this and we don't do that. But then we had a very nice discussion that we don't need to hide anything. So we start where we're at, and we move forward slowly, and we share our process with others. And I think that's a very nice way to bridge the gap, that whatever gap there is in my thought pattern, in my lifestyle, in my relationship, I'm open about it. And then I share the process of healing with others. Then no one can ever point fingers at you behind afterwards. And the last question I had for myself and Golo was about then how to increase your integrity, how to do it. And I was thinking for myself that we have to learn to love ourselves on the inside no matter what. I think integrity starts there. And God, you talked you talked about God and so beautifully God's light and how God loves us. And I have to learn to see myself as God sees me.
That's
and
very
then
beautiful.
it all starts there, isn't it? And so actually negative self-talk is forbidden. And I sometimes think of my thoughts as my children. And you know, in the doctor's clinic, we have had hundreds and thousands of kids running around, and I see how parents deal with them. And most parents, not all, but most, they are very pedagogic with their children. They encourage them, they appreciate them. They make the best out of the kids with a lot of love. And if I can treat my thoughts in the same way. Actually, I work in the prison also, and I had an interesting session the other day. I asked them about a positive childhood memory, and I got it, but it took some time. We had to go through all the negative things before we got to the positive things. So it was quite a heavy session. But at the end of the day, everyone remembered their mother. She's the only one for more than half of the group. The mother is the only one who still loves them totally unconditionally, come and visit every week, and still thinks everything will be good, no matter what they did. And if I can learn to have the same attitude towards myself, it just would be wonderful. And I think integrity starts there. So I don't know if you want to add something to that, Golo, or we open up for question now.
Maybe I just share a
Yes,
little
yes.
thought which just came in mind.
Yeah.
I remember once, what's ultimate integrity, and you mentioned that the thoughts are like your children and you have to look after them. And I remember one time Baba's program in Shantivan Hall, and Baba gave Drishti, and then Baba said, Baba has a very beautiful scenery in front of him. And Baba sees everybody as a pure soul, as a spark, floating there, and sees the shine and the light, And I think that's the ultimate sacrifice you can do to your consciousness or to your thoughts, that you see the other person as a perfect star. Because once you see him as a perfect star, then included is acceptance, mercy, love, compassion, and you can accept the other as a shining star and see the other person in his perfect form. And the beauty is that God sees us in this perfect form, and the closer we come, the more we are matching that view, and also see others in their perfect form as a shiny star, beautiful, radiating all sorts of energy. And then there is no more left, right, yin, yang. And then we bring our heart and we bring our understanding, our knowledge into one. This is the ultimate union. And I remember in a lot of mystical treatises and languages, the mystics, they were always looking to marry these two things together and achieve that union. And I think that's also the ultimate integrity within yourself, if you achieve that highest state where you see everybody as a perfect being. And I remember when you spoke of that scene in Shantivan maybe 20 years ago, when Baba said it's such a beautiful scenery in front of him, because he sees everybody in its perfect form as a shining star.
Maybe you do a meditation on that, Golo, with us before we can have a meditation now on that topic, or whatever you like. Yeah.
Manoj Bhai, what's the plan?
Yeah, of course. We'll do meditation at the end. There was just one question which one of the participants asked, but I think you have already answered. I'll just take it since it was asked. It's a very practical one that I covered it before as well, that she knows that the boss is not a person of integrity. And she feels that she knows about him quite a bit. Should she just straightforward go and tell him that, oh, you're not being integral? Because she feels that if I don't tell him, I am not being integral with myself. So there you are. So you can just tell us. I hear your head nodding in the wrong direction. Give me the answer. So you can just elaborate.
Yeah, well, as I said, often you know what's right. And then, of course, you can straight away say it. But quite often then you create a very forceful, powerful counter reaction of that person. He rejects what you're saying. So I think integrity also means that you learn to be diplomatic and sort of use the perfect way for a yogi. And the perfect way for a yogi is that you work on the mental level, on the level of your thoughts and your awareness, and you project towards this person integrity and compassion, and then this person will start thinking himself. I remember that the daddies, when they gave advice, they have been very smart. Sometimes they were praising other people, and often that worked. Sometimes they were also pulling the ear of somebody, but that was the last resort. And they could do it, because they were the boss and they were responsible. But if you're working with somebody and he's probably in a higher position, then of course you have to be also yogi-yoked and find a proper approach without sort of harming your own integrity. And if it becomes too worse, you leave the place. If the circumstances become too unbearable, you say, okay, I cannot continue under such circumstances because I have to compromise too much. But I think a lot can be done with increasing your own stage. Don't allow that this dishonesty or the negativity of the other person sort of affects you too much. Often it is only what you see in another person and how he talks to you, but it doesn't really affect your work or your position in the company or what you have to do. I mean, if he tells you you have to steal the money from somebody else, then of course your alarm bells should ring and you say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing something improper, and you quit. But often, it's also on interpersonal relationship, So I think with a lot of yoga power and good thoughts, you should try first that,
Yeah, I would say the same, to make friends with people, because when you make friends with people, they will listen. It takes a lot of patience. So I know from my own workplace, it can take a year or 2 years before people trust you. And when they trust you, they listen to you. And I also wanted to add one thing, if I'm not feel I'm living up to integrity or honesty with the self is the most difficult thing. So that's where I have to work the most, not about the self. And if I have that in integrity and honesty myself, then my relationship would be very healing. And I remember one incident in the prison when there was one guy, he came up to me, he wanted to be part of the meditation lesson, but the guards didn't want him to go. And he was in a bad stage in it, and he nearly held on to me, crying and shouting he wanted to come, but the guards were holding him, and he looked at me with these desperate eyes, and I just didn't know what to say. And I said, what can I say in this situation that I also believe in? And I actually said, there's only one thing I could say, and that was, I think everything will be good. And I told him, and he became so happy. He relaxed. Oh, yes, everything will be good. Because I believed it. And that's why it became good for him also.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. And it was amazing. Both of you have given beautiful examples from your life journey and from your experiences. It's real life experience of integrity rather than just speaking theory about that. Last weekend also we had both the sisters, Luciana and Juliana, and both of you. Thank you so much. And this time we have our seniors with us. Again, back on track, we are there with them. So Dr. Ashok Mehta, I would request him and Sister Claudia to propose the vote of thanks officially. I think for some reason, Brother Golo's connection has been a bit hostile. He's again not there, but anyway, he'll be back. Over to both of you. Dr. Mehta first.
Thank you, Golo Bhai and Sister Sonja, for the beautiful examples of personal integrity. But the interesting part was what they revealed. They said the integrity has to be inside and outside. It has to be reflected outside. Most of the time, what we do on the outside is different than what we are in the inside. I think that's a very interesting observation. Even Golobai is saying in the international conventions or on the environment, there are lots of problems which are, he mentioned very nicely, the money is a very tricky topic and people have a hidden agenda. In other words, integrity is very difficult to practice really. You may have very strong views on honesty, but sometimes while doing honest work, you get into more trouble with the people around. And that's why you have to be more diplomatic, and you have to manipulate or manage in such a way that your integrity doesn't hurt anybody and you don't get into trouble with people. I can give you my personal example. I was just wondering whether I should or should not, but I think I'm going to tell you. It was during the COVID that we have a Baba's hospital in Mumbai, which is a BSES, Municipal General Hospital. During this phase in COVID, many people ran away. Those who were working, they left because they were staying in small space, but there were 7 or 8 people and they were all scared because they had small children. So many workers left for their native towns. And at one point, our HR manager decided, I think must be under some instructions, that we should ask the people to return to work. And they sent a small note saying that if you don't return within 7 days, your job stands terminated. And it was unfortunate that large number of people were terminated because they did not come back, or they could not come back, obviously, because life was more precious than the job. And then when they returned, they did not have a job. And I felt that it was not correct. It was, life was more precious at that point of time, and we cannot punish these workers by terminating this job. And I put it to our trustees, and they said, no, whatever has been done is right. And at that point, I felt that if you have a personal integrity or personal conscience, I decided that I will not work or I will not continue as a trustee, and I resigned. I think it requires, because there was a Gandhian strict, strict into it, that if you're working with a group of people who would not agree, the best thing is you quit and you take the responsibility and you sacrifice your interests. So I think integrity also requires a lot of courage, not only a courage, but execute the courage. To say that I am courageous is not very correct. Sister was told about an environment as a holistic, just, fairness, respect, and courage are the five parts of your integrity. I think courage is a very important part of the integrity. And most of us, we talk of integrity. When it comes down to personal levels, we back out and we do not want to be sacrificed. We don't have that courage. So I think courage is a very important part of the integrity. Truth, honesty also require a part of the integrity. If you're not able to have courage to stand up for truth and honesty, probably you cannot have integrity. So I think integrity is a many facets, multiple facets. It's in personal life, in say for example, a organization like Yagya itself. Integrity is often, becomes a difficult issue for expressing yourself. I think it's again very nicely put. It's a balancing act. You try to balance, So balancing act is more diplomacy, where you think one and you say something else, and you go around the subject. So integrity is not a very easy aspect of life to practice, I suppose. In personal lives also, sometimes we compromise on simple things, like if you are traveling somewhere and you need a ticket, and you sort of compromise somewhere down the line. So I suppose this has been a very interesting subject, and I think it has been brought out in multiple ways. I have known Golo Bhai from 1988 when we met first time, and he's a very interesting person. How he manages to work in India with difficult situation, especially in trying to set up his solar project, etc. I think he's not there, so. But anyway, I have seen him work with so much of gusto and so much of dedication and keeping a good integrity in his own personal life. I'm sure that we have heard beautiful things about integrity, and at least some of it will carry. Sometimes we have to be more inside and outside, both the same, and then only we can have practice integrity. Thank you very much, Sister Sonia Ben and Golo Bhai. Golo Bhai is not there, but we really enjoyed your dialogue and bringing out a very interesting point, especially international field of environmental world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I got regrets from Golo, but his Wi-Fi now finally broke. So it was just a wonder we could manage the whole hour. So he says thank you, and I've written down all your points, Ashok Mehta, you shared so beautifully, so I will share with him later.
Shanti, good morning from Vancouver. Good evening for some of you, or good afternoon. So it's a pleasure to hear both of you, Golo and Sonia. And there's and a very important point is integrity when we need is, which is, like Sonja said, maybe was Golo said, is together with karma. So when we do something that's not what we feel that is right, it can be not good karma, but still sometimes we have to keep quiet depending on the situation. So it was good to see how to increase that integrity. We have to be the mother for the self. So when we are the mother for the self, we become more, speak more the truth, but in a nice way. So for example, if I see a patient who is suffering from something and they are not ready to listen what I have to say, or to hear what I have to say, but still I need to say, I have to learn how to bring the message in a nice way, because sometimes what the doctors say, they just, because it's truth, they just go and speak straight to the patient, and the patient suffer from that, and the family as well. But still we need to say, but we need to say in a very soft way, so they do not suffer. So that's the same thing with anyone who is working with us. Sometimes we say, but they don't want to hear, because they don't want to hear the reality. So then we have to sometimes be quiet, even though we know that it's not the real, but still we have to keep our integrity, because of the other one is not ready to hear. So was a very good point that came out today. So even when somebody criticizes me, and I have to see what they criticize, it's something that I have to learn. And what is the point? Maybe what's the other one did not get what they want to get. So I have to go inside myself and check where is that criticism is coming, which is real, which is not real. So where I should work on it. So I think it was very, very nice to hear both of you. And after meeting you in London and then the retreat place. So it was very nice to see in person what we meet on the Zoom. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Sister Sonia, we are running a bit late, so we'll just quickly do the announcements in a few minutes. All of you, just please keep your video cameras on as well so that we can quickly have the photograph. Sister Anu, be ready. For people who have newly joined, please share in your email addresses and WhatsApp numbers to Sister Anu or to everyone if you are comfortable so that we can send you all the review materials. Within 11 hours from now, to be specific, we have Dadi Prakash Mani, our very favorite, one of the administrative heads, 17th Memorial Day of hers. We are celebrating it tomorrow, and it is a silence retreat in her memorial, which we'll be celebrating. 2 hours silence. It is basically for students who are new, who can also join. It's basically for the regular meditation practitioners, whom we call BK students. But if you all want to taste the flavor of having continuous silence for 2 hours and seeing how it empowers you, we have this. And it's on the value of accommodation. We'll be having the versions as well spoken by the Supreme Being on accommodation as well. So the next episode in the series is episode 98 on forgiveness. And we have with us Arya Sudha Didi from Russia. She's the general director of the BKs in Moscow. And after that, we have a new speaker with us for the workshop this time, Sister Aneta from Poland. And that is the week after the series, the episode. And that's our elegant calendar of August, which is there on our group as well. And these are our websites, email addresses, the playlists. Please feel free to visit them. In the interest of time, I'm not going in details. Let me just stop sharing. And if all of you can just quickly, yeah. And we'll, after this photograph, go into the meditation mode. Yeah. Okay.
If you like to be in the photo, please switch on your videos. I see the beautiful smiles with inner integrity. Thank you, everyone. Got it.
So I think you will be the one who will be doing meditation, Brother Golo. Perfect. On time, he left. He was there for the entire talk. So all is good in the drama. So over to you for the meditation.
So let's take a deep breath. Now go inside. And I invite God to come. This time I'm not going to Him. This time the Supreme is coming to me. So I allow God's love and light to heal all the dark corners in my subconsciousness. I allow God's love and light to remove all the darkness in my past memories. I allow God's love and light to chase all the shadows away. And I'm left like a little child, clean and pure, ready to be myself in all situations, ready to stand up for who I am, ready to take God's hand whenever I need to, ready to be a shining love and light myself. So shine this light into the world I become like a lighthouse. And I take a deep breath and come back. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much for your sharings and presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. And have a nice day and a nice integrity week.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you again.